Well, it's time. About 24 weeks ago, Skip Barber put up the opportunity for drivers to potentially race their way into a racing school session. And well, season number 1, we saw Philippe Lebert come away with that championship, and now we get to cap off season number 2 at what might be the fastest race on the circuit. Join us for the finale of season 2 Skip Barber Racing School Championship live from Mount Panorama, better known as Bathurst. Join us in a few moments' time. Welcome back to RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live, as for the final time this season, coverage continues here live from Mount Panorama, Bathurst. Slight correction, this is the 3rd season on iRacing, but it's the 2nd season here in the Skip Barber series that's after they've put up this offer. So it's a little bit confusing, but as always, Randy Chineth, Alvin Yeves, Hugo Louis bringing you all the action here today. And well, Alvin, we've been talking about the championship all season long. There's only one way to say it. Johnny Gundy's got this wrapped up.
Yeah, pretty much for Johnny Gundy, this should pretty much be just joy of a race. You know, he should be coming in here and just doing the best that he can, because he pretty much has this championship over Andrew Precario. However, on this track today, Bathurst, Mount Panorama, I think, Randy, one of the best tracks here in the world that we will be racing in here today. And when you put this Skip Barber in, you know, it's always so much fun to have this car and this track combo.
So while you mentioned the fact that Johnny Gundy, we have this completely wrapped up. Philippe Lebert 2nd in the points. He, of course, your season champion from last season, season 2, but season 1 since this was on offer. So your defending champion from last season comes away, and I think has P number 2 wrapped up. But that said, other 3 slots here, Andrew Precario, Greg Seitz, and Arjun de Vries, these are all important in terms of this championship, because it's important to note, Alvin, that over the 3 seasons that we're running this, the top 5 in each get themselves entered into the opportunity to win them into the race-off, to win the 3-day racing school. Whereas these guys who are just winning these championships now, they're just getting 1 day. So even if you're Philippe Lebert, Philippe Lebert already got one, but if you're Precario, if you're Seitz, if you're de Vries, and even if you're Halliburton, Tron, Rylands, you still potentially have the opportunity to race yourself into that race-off at the end of season number 4.
That is potentially what these drivers are trying to do today, Randy. Yes, Johnny Gundy pretty much virtually should have the 1-day Skip Barber session pretty much in his pocket, such as Philippe Lebert as well. So for the rest of the drivers here, it's pretty much try to set up into that top 5, because as you mentioned, Randy, the top 5 from season 1, 2, 3, or 2, 3, and 4, depending how you want to look at it, or depending how Hugo wants us to mention it, of course, they will go into a shootout and whoever wins that race, they will get the 3-day racing school Skip Barber.
So qualifying currently underway here at Bathurst. It's also important to note, though, for those of you who might be, let's say, less fast, such as myself or Alvin, you want to get a chance to get yourself a one-day Skip Barber Racing School, all you have to do is run an entire season here in this Skip Barber car, and you get basically put into a raffle. At the end of the season, they will pull a name, and you will get yourself a one-day Skip Barber Racing School. So even if you're not fast, run all season long, you still get the opportunity to get yourself a nice handy prize. And qualifying currently underway here, Alvin. Have about 1 minute left, but I think the big talking point, Ibarrakin's out of nowhere.
Yeah, it is, and you know, when you have names such as Araicoba Lopez, Alejandro Sanchez, Mark Perez, and Omar Soto, you know that, you know, things are starting to get really serious.
It's like
and,
you're at home, isn't it, Alvin?
Well, yes and no, because it's pretty much like well, here we will say Madre Patria. He knows what I mean by that. You know, it's like our conquerors are kind of running in here. So, and you know, these drivers, every time they come in here, you know, the level of driving that these drivers have, you know, they always elevate things to the next level. You know, these drivers, they are fantastic drivers, and I'm pretty sure for drivers like Johnny Guindy, Felipe Lebert, the regulars here in this season, you know, it will be a tough task to try to beat them.
That it certainly is, but with that, qualifying is going to finish up here, and so let's go down your qualifying results for round number 12 live here from Bathurst. Araicoba Lopez comes down and puts down a fast time of 2 minutes 27.961. Only driver in that 27-second bracket, where Johnny Guindy starts on the outside with a 2:28 flat. Alejandro Sanchez and Adam Rylands, they make up row 2, with Mark Perez and Juan Tron starting from that third row. Greg Seitz and Felipe Lebert, two names that have been racing back since the last season, they're going to make up row 4, with Ricardo Rico and John Sully making up row 5. Vinicius Roca and Andrew Picario on the 6th row. We've got Guillermo Valenzuela and Omar Soto, row number 7. Justin Tipton and David Pina Jimenez, row 8. Jeremiah Morton and Christopher Topanga, row 9. With Justin Smith and Ignacio Sanchez rounding out the 20-car field. Very close, very, very close field tonight here in terms of qualifying. Only about 2 seconds actually separates this entire field. And one thing talking about this racetrack, Alvin, shortly before we go green, big talking point, draft.
Yeah, certainly draft will be one of the big talking points here. You know, as soon as you go into Hell Corner, it's up and down, and you know, it's fantastic. You go onto the draft, but Randy, also draft, but also as soon as you go into turn number 2, Quarry, all the way to the forest at elbow is walls.
That it is, draft, walls, potentially, and hopefully not. Crash. We're still waiting for the rest of the drivers to get themselves on to this starting grid, and we will be getting these guys going in about 30 seconds time. It's going to be an exciting track to cap off this season here as we get ready to go into the next championship, where we kick it off at another exciting track, but more on that later as the revs begin to build. Green flag is in the air, and for the first time, these guys go running down this front straightaway into Hell Corner, not only because it's the lowest point on the racetrack, but as you rise more and more, things just get more and more hellish all the way up the top. Everything goes spread out nice and evenly up and down your field, single file through turn number 1 as they go roaring up Mountain Straight for the first time on the run towards Griffin's Bend. At corner number 2, a lot of elevation going up this hill, and this is where you're going to see these slipstreams really working here. You see Johnny Guindy and Alejandro Sanchez working the draft on the number 1 of Araicoba Lopez, first time into corner number 2. And we already have a challenger. Johnny Guindy looks to the inside, and while Araicoba Lopez there, Alvin, he made it look easy. I think he wants to sit in that slipstream, but that said, he fights back on the exit of turn 2 on the run up towards the cutting here through this very left-hand kink, and then now this tight left-hander at turn 4. Up and over the top they go for the first time.
Up into the top, and now this is where things start really getting interesting. Now they get here into Griffin's Mountain. Here, Randy, now this is where things get a little bit interesting, because yes, there is a little bit of runoff here that you can take, but that's the last thing you really want to touch now, coming here into Solomon Park and coming into one of the best parts here. Once they get into this turn, they go into Skyline, and this is where things start getting really interesting.
So now they're at the highest point on the racetrack. From here, they're going down hard on the brakes as you drop into Skyline into the S's. from here to Forest Elbow, it's all just one big section. You have to take every corner, setting up for the next here as they work themselves now through the dipper and on the run towards Forest Elbow, through that little right-hand kink, and now into this very difficult left-hand corner with Vulcan Tire sponsorship around the walls here at Forest Elbow, and now down the long Conrad straight, longest, fastest straightaway in Australia. In Australian motorsports, V8 supercars, they're pushing 200 mile an hour plus as they work themselves down to this right-hand kink called the chase. Now here comes the number 1 machine though of Adicobo Lopez on your race leader of Johnny Gundy. So this is gonna be the second time the lead has swapped this lap. Also fighting for third is Alejandro Sanchez, Adam Ryland. So they're 2 teammates versus 2 teammates as they work themselves now into the chase for the first time and through the left and right hand chicane here, down now into the final corner at Murray's Corner. One of the most difficult corners actually on the circuit, but you wouldn't think about it as still side by side deeper in the field. And well, Adam Rylands, he has one Barracuda driver get around him and another one managed to pick up the slack as well. Mark Perez, he's lost himself just ahead of Adam Rylands. So Rylands, I think, Alvin, not very happy about that. 2 Ibericans get by in the span of about 2 corners.
2 Ibericans indeed, and you know, they really came here and they came to race, and now coming here into Hell's Corner once again. Adicobo Lopez again leading the race with Johnny Gundy running a close second place, and I think we're gonna see the same dynamic here with the slipstream. And I think this isn't really about really trying to fight for that position, Randy, because Adicobo Lopez knows that he's gonna be overtaken, so perhaps he's not gonna put that much of a fight coming into turn number 2. So yeah, he just lets Johnny Gundy take that position and you know, just let it go. And then
oh, we got contact. Sorry to interrupt you here. 2, 3, 4 cars and some of the teammates involved. Greg Seitz, Felipe Baird, last season's defending champion. We got another car involved as well, Vinicius Roca, as well as Andrew Picario in corner number 2. So big incident here, Alvin, that got just stacked up. Just these guys close racing, and I think it was supposed to be like you were talking about out in front. I think people were just intending to swap positions back and forth. But on this one here, this actually started with Ricardo Rico. He got into the back of the 6 machine here and breaking into corner number 2. That was Greg Seitz, and that just sent both of them around. One went to the outside, one went to the inside, and really once that happens, nowhere to go for the likes of Felipe Bear and Vinicius Roca, and that caused quite a pileup on the exit of Quarry.
And that is one of the problems here that we have here in Bathurst. If you are involved in an incident, especially from Quarry all the way to the Forest Elbow, pretty much those walls, that's pretty much a roadblock, and that pretty much can set up for a pretty big incident as we just saw happening with Felipe Leber and Greg Seitz. So very important for everybody to try to, you know, get things try to get them as sorted as possible. And I think Felipe Leber I think he just called it quits right here in the SS.
Yeah, it was definitely a big incident for him, and still they worked themselves down the back straightaway, down Conrad straight for the second time. Johnny Gundy actually had a pretty good buffer over himself, and I think he might maintain. No, he's not. Adicobo Lopez fires it up the inside on the brakes here at the chase, and he's going to get it slowed down and using all of the racetrack and then all the rumble strip. He didn't put those right sides on the grass, but he's just about to. Excellent move there by Adicobo Lopez to pick up that race lead now through Murray's Bend for the second of 10 times here today. Huge pack here on the front. Adicobo Lopez and Johnny Gundy, Alejandro Sanchez, Mark Perez, Adam Rylands, and Tuan Tron working themselves across this front straightaway for the second time into Hell Corner for the third.
Yeah, and you know, this is something that pretty much, I think we're gonna miss this, Randy, because this is pretty much the same dynamic that we have seen all season long. Group of 6, maybe 7 cars doing the breakaway right here in the lead, and then you have your secondary group. But this group today is a little bit kind of different because you have pretty much Iberica Racing Team pretty much in front trying to battle Johnny Gundy and Adam Rylands with Tuan Trump pretty much here under Adicobo Lopez still side by side going with Johnny Gundy into Quarry Corner, still going side by side. And I think Adicobo Lopez said, you know what, this is enough. I'm gonna take this lead and perhaps I'm gonna try to run away with it.
But he's on the outside for that left-hand kink as well as the cutting, and those are more important than what you get through Quarry there. And because of that, Johnny Gundy puts himself back in the race lead, now up and over the top part of the racetrack where Jordan Cox's Civic has gotten so famous, bound to have a corner named after him at some point or another. And they're going to go side by side for your race lead here through these parts of the racetrack. Again, just such a fast sector, such narrow room for errors. And well, Adicobo Lopez is going to give him the spot and just slide himself in line here. The top 6 work themselves across the top of the mountain, that skyline, and then back down the hill they come. Quick right, quick left, and then again another quick right, and then the dipper, this blind left-hand corner, a lot like the corkscrew at Laguna Seca, the way the track falls away from you there at that point of the racetrack, and now down this relatively straight section, but still you're turning all the time through Forest Elbow again, and then hard on the throttle, trying to open any gap you can over the car behind, because they have such a long straightaway down here on Conrad Straight, downhill all the way, hitting super high speeds, probably some of the highest speeds, Alvin, these cars have hit all season.
Definitely the highest speed that you will hit all season long. But I think, Randy, I think Mount Panorama just claimed another victim right here into the into the Dipper, and that is Justin Tipton.
So another driver, Justin Tipton. We have Jeremiah Morton with some damage as well. So a lot of damaged cars here at Bathurst, which is what you come to expect. That said, Adecobo Lopez, he goes back to your race lead as we're coming now to the end of lap number 3. And this group of 6, Alvin, you know, the 2 leaders have swapped positions relatively aggressively. There's been some passes behind them, but for the most part, those 4 drivers of Sanchez, Rylance, Perez, and Tron, they've been playing relatively nice with one another. And I think if you're Adecobo Lopez, and I think if you're Johnny Gundy, I think you have to be just looking in your mirror all the time, knowing that those 4 behind are playing nice and just waiting for their opportunity to potentially pounce.
I think pretty much this is more of a waiting game for everybody here in this 5 group, as Johnny Gundy tries to go again here on a move for the lead here with Adecobo Lopez, just a little bit on the outside. I think he's a little bit going over the edge, but he's keeping it safe, not going under braking. Adecobo Lopez and Johnny Gundy still side by side coming here into quarry, Randy, and that may give even an opening here for P number 3. Alejandro Sanchez now running in P number 2, now coming here into the cutting. Let's see what happens here now. It's a little bit too close, and Alejandro Sanchez and Johnny Gundy still battling here side by side.
Side by side as they work themselves back up the mountain now, getting ready to come towards halfway over the next couple of laps. Up but over the top goes Adecobo Lopez, and he's been able to stretch a bit of a gap over his teammate of Alejandro Sanchez, who's gotten himself into P2. So his teammates in 1st and 2nd, teammates in 3rd and 4th, and then it's another Iberican driver of Mark Perez in 5th. Tuan Tron was in 6th, but over the last lap and a half or so, Tuan Tron has really fell off the pace, and he's dropped a bit of time here as they work themselves now back down through the Dipper and on the run towards Forest Elbow again.
Yeah, coming here down, and I think the P1 and P2 with Adecobo Lopez and Alejandro Sanchez, I think they're gonna try to do a little bit of teamwork here now that they are P1, P2 here. But for Johnny Gundy, yes, he has a teammate in Adam Rylance, so will be really interesting to see how things they try to work here as a team. But also Mark Perez are running here in P5. He may try to spoil the party here for Johnny Gundy and Adam Rylance.
That they might, as they work themselves now back down through the chase yet again, as David Friedman proving no help in the spectator chat as you see these leaders coming down now towards the final corner, and Adecobo Lopez looks to the outside somewhat aggressively, and as well as Johnny Gundy is going to slot up the inside here at Murray's Elbow, and that's a very dangerous place to do it, but if you can make it stick, it can be effective down the front straightaway, and he cuts off the run from the one machine of Adecobo Lopez. Johnny Gundy now will look to the outside of Hell Corner on Alejandro Sanchez, and this could be huge because this will affect the run of your top 2, and that might just stack them into the cars behind due to the slipstream. And now we see Sanchez get a good run, and while Lopez has a bit of momentum for now, these cars are slow that the slipstream is going to be hugely important, and Johnny Gundy lifts out of it, had the opportunity to force it 3 wide, and is he going to? The 2 Iberican teammates are going to be side by side now down up this long straightaway. 2 by 2 they're going to go with just his teammate slotted into the 5th position. That's Adam Rylance, but through corner number 2 they go, and Adecobo Lopez locked onto the outside. Johnny Gundy trying to slip up on the inside, but he has again the outside line through these 2 corners. Little left-hand kink at turn 3, and then the tight left-hander turn 4, the cutting, and he's not able to get himself in line. So now another Iberican driver, that's Mark Perez, might be able to slip up the inside of Johnny Gundy, but no, he's going to get himself back in line. Top 5 all back in a row, but Team Iberica taking the top 3 spots over TT Racing here, Alvin.
Well, not yet, as pretty much
2 spots.
1, 2, and pretty much Mark Perez running in P4, but I think this may not last long as Mark Perez is really trying to pounce here on Johnny Gundy and trying to take that P3 and making an Iberica Racing Team 1, 2, 3. But you know, Randy, this really shows you that, yeah, these drivers, they are really going really aggressive, and another driver, I think, into the wall. Adam Rylands goes into the wall.
Huge mistake from Adam Rylands, and that's going to basically lock him out of this. This was just coming down the skyline here, just basically messed up his braking point. Actually, it wasn't even that. It was that curb, Alvin, on that left-hand kink as he dropped down skyline, that very first sort of corner that you really have to deal with. I think he just high-centered that car, kicked out the rear end. Well, that spat him out into the wall on the left-hand side. That's how easily you can end your race here at a track like this.
Yeah, it is, and you know, that's pretty much one of the things that you really have to watch out, especially when you're going through the S's. But now Araikoa Lopez and Johnny Guindy able to take P number 2 from Alejandro Sanchez. So a great move that they're going into the chase from Johnny Guindy. But now Johnny Guindy has a problem. He has no teammates, and Araikoa Lopez pretty much has a bunch of teammates right with him that can help him. This will be really interesting, Randy, how Johnny Guindy is able to manage this race.
That is going to be through the front straightaway, and we are now half distance here at Bathurst as Araikoa Lopez leads from Johnny Guindy, but Johnny has big challenges behind with the two Iberican teammates of Perez and Sanchez, who have been very, very quick. And actually, you know, we generally talk about this Iberica racing team, Alvin. They're always fast. One of the big question marks for them tends to be consistency. I'd say of these drivers in the top 5, the 3 I'd nominate as most consistent would be those 3 Iberican cars.
Yeah, it certainly is. And you know, when we talk about this team, you know, all the drivers, they are really fast. Yes, they can be really aggressive, but you know, it also shows in their results how good they are. And you know, for Araikoa Lopez, I think he is pretty much the top driver from Iberica Racing Team. And another driver that really comes to my mind, very popular driver, Paulo Lopez, and he's also part of this team. So you know, this team really, you know, they have a good core of drivers, and you know, they know what they have to do. It's just that sometimes, you know, they may get a little bit too aggressive perhaps, and sometimes that could be their own weakness.
Up towards skyline they come yet again, and then now down. You get a slight break here as you work across the top of the flat, but then you're immediately back to work down this hill. This is where you just saw a driver make a mistake and end his race. To any of the top 4, no, they're all perfect down through the dipper. Look how quickly they get themselves through there. The direction change so impressive, even in these light little Formula 2000 cars, as they work themselves now into Forest Elbow, trying to get on the throttle, and it's not going to be a good run for Araikoa Lopez. Definitely going to be under attack from the 4 of Johnny Guindy this time. You can already see how much steam the 4 is carrying down this hill. He looks to driver's right. Lopez went to cut it off, but was too slow to do so. The 4 machine goes to the grass to get the job started, and I think he's going to get this job done as he works now back up this hill and then down to continue down this back straightaway. Once you go under that Fuso sign, right-hand kink here at the chase, and the 1 of Lopez, he'll have the inside here at the chicane. Can he brake late enough to get the job done? No. The 4 of Johnny Guindy, fantastic opportunity work there, Alvin, to get that job done.
He definitely got a great run coming here out of the Forest Elbow, to the point that I think he kind of scraped the wall, but he really got away with it, and I think that caught Araikoa Lopez by surprise, because he pretty much finished that move way before they got into the chase. And you know, that's one of those moves that I think, Randy, we call a power move.
Power move indeed, but is he going to be able to hold it? Because it's going to be 3 drivers all working together behind him. Now up this long first straightaway, a mountain straight. What's the number 1 machine going to do? Working the draft for sure. And how will Johnny Guindy defend? Will he try to defend the inside line at the second corner? Or will he try to set up instead for turns number 3 and 4? He's going to decide to opt for the inside line into corner number 2. Araikoa Lopez, huge head of steam. And actually here, Alvin, he's not even going to fight it. Johnny Guindy just gives it to Lopez as they work themselves through Griffin's Bend.
It really makes no sense to try to fight it. You know that you are pretty much going to be overtaking courtesy of the solution. So it's pretty much just let the driver just go by you, try to slap right behind him. But you know, at this point, it is kind of difficult, because yes, he found the space now from Alejandro Sanchez and Mark Perez, but I think as we get closer to the end of the race, Randy, I think there's not gonna be really that much space left.
Up again now across the top of the mountain. Quick little left-hander is what they come up to, very fast. A lot of commitment required at this part of the racetrack, and you have to be careful on that curb on the exit. You can upset the car. A lot of drivers have ended their races there. They come now back down the hill through the dipper once again. Quick right, then into this very fast downhill left-hander. Probably a lot scarier than the corkscrew is in actuality due to how close the walls are here, and then down into Forest Elbow for the 7th time here. Going to be 3 laps to go at the line. And who's it going to be? iRacing Racing Team looking strong, and I think Johnny Gundy there, Alvin, gave that wall a bit of a smack there on the exit of Forest Elbow. That's what you need to do to be quick. You have to be very, very tight to that wall, but you don't want to get too close to it. These cars don't have mirrors you can snap off like the V8 supercars, as Lopez under attack from the 4 again.
Yeah, it is, and you know, for Johnny Gundy now coming here, trying to get the lead away from Arecoba Lopez, and I'm pretty much, this is the seesaw that we are going to see this whole dynamic now. Really interesting. Once we come into the final lap, Arecoba Lopez and Johnny Gundy know how this draft works. So the question is, do you want to be in first or do you want to be in second place once you get out of the Forest Elbow?
Looking up and down your field, this is the fight for the race lead is the most interesting and closest fight out there on the racetrack. Not really anything close. You have Christian Campanga fighting with Justin Smith. That's relatively tight, but for the most part, the rest of your field is pretty spread out. A couple big movers. David Pina Jimenez qualified in the 16th position. He currently runs 6th. Guillermo Valenzuela from 13th to 7th. Omar Soto 14th to 8th. 17th to 9th for Jeremiah Morton, 18th to 10th for Christian Campanga, 19th to 11th for Justin Smith. Alvin, you get down to the tail end of the top 10, and basically everyone from row 8 back is just picked up like 10 spots.
Yeah, a little bit of spots here and there, but Arecoba Lopez coming here into the lead again, coming into quarry. So Johnny Gundy, Arecoba Lopez swapping the lead pretty much throughout the whole race. Now, I think for Alejandro Sanchez and Mark Perez, I think they're gonna start to crank the pressure just a little bit. Really interesting if Arecoba Lopez perhaps tries to slow down just a little bit on purpose, trying to get his 2 teammates trying to help him and attack Johnny Gundy coming here onto the top of Bathurst.
So as we're inside 3 laps to go, we see Gundy drop back into the 2nd spot and gets himself into the middle of the Spanish Emperadado. If I pronounced that wrong, you can thank Google Translate for that one, as they work themselves across the top of Skyline and then down here, back down through the S's. And what is Coba Lopez going to do? You know, he wants to try to open the gap and break the draft here over Johnny Gundy, but the draft is so strong and Gundy is so quick that I don't think he's going to be able to do so. I think you might be right here, Alvin. Might be a good opportunity to just back him up into his teammates and let the 2 of them start trying to just harass the 4 machine. You don't even have to get the job done. You don't have to get a move started, but sorry, might be starting right now as Johnny Gundy doesn't get a good run off that Forest Elbow, but for some reason the 3 of Sanchez not looking to use the slipstream right now, Alvin, as we see Gundy looking into the slipstream of the 1 of Arecoba Lopez, going to your drivers right into the chase. That gives him the inside line for the right-hand kink, but that's not the important part of this car, but maybe it just turns out to be the 4 is enough overspeed. He gets himself back to the point, and he becomes the bread of the sandwich instead of the meat.
Yeah, it is Johnny Gundy going back here into the lead, but Arecoba Lopez trying to have a look here on the inside coming into Murray's corner. Let's see what happens, but no, Arecoba Lopez decides to stay just behind as we go to just another lap, but I think this is lap number 9 of 10, so Randy, they cross the stripe here, and this is 2 laps to go. Now the action will begin.
2 laps to go down through corner number 1 and then up the long front second straightaway, I should say, yet again. And for sure, Arecoba Lopez is going to get himself to the race lead, but how is he going to do it? Again, looks to the outside, and Johnny Gundy again I think is probably just going to give in and just slot himself back in line because he doesn't want to get himself dropped back to the 3rd spot. Alejandro Sanchez works the draft from Arecoba Lopez, but they get themselves all in order and up into corner number 2. They all get themselves sorted in single file again. The run to the cutting here, I think we're going to expect Alvin going to be relatively snoozeful. I don't think we're going to see anyone throw an epic dive bomb into the cutting as much as that would be in the spirit of Australian motorsports. But through this tight uphill left-hander that's so complex to get the power down, bit of a bump there on the exit, up across the top they come again. Now it's all about what happens on Forest Elbow and where do you want to be in this draft coming to the end.
Where do you want to be? That is pretty much the question here for Arecoba Lopez, Johnny Gundy, Alejandro Sanchez, and Mark Perez. And you know, this is pretty much the race that has been going on so far from the drop of the green flag. Yes, we had Justin Tipton and we have Tuan Tran, but Tuan Tran definitely has dropped significantly from this group, running comfortably in P5, but a little bit of I think of a slide there here by Johnny Guindy, and that had definitely lost just that little bit of momentum. And Randy, the last thing you want to do in this car is lose momentum.
And actually, look at the space he's lost to Adicobo Lopez. As Johnny Guindy, I think he clipped the wall at some point. Alvin has steering damage or something, because the number 4 Guindy is way off the pace, and he drops himself back to 4th in line. Down Conrad straight here now for the penultimate time. Adicobo Lopez has an enormous advantage over his competitors as they work themselves down towards the chase here. Working lap number 9 and 10. That has to be GG for Johnny Guindy. I think that might be not race-ending damage, but if he's struggling that much down Conrad straight, hard to see how he's going to be able to make a move. But that said, the Iberican in front of him, Mark Perez, all sorts of sideways. Can he make a move down into Murray's Bend? White flag, one more lap to go at the line.
One more lap to go, and I think for Adicobo Lopez, he has pretty much this race in the back. And Johnny Guindy slides coming into the last corner, so I think that, yeah, Johnny Guindy may trying a little bit too aggressive of some damage, but definitely the race for the win here for Johnny Guindy, it's over.
So after 9 laps, the Ibericans get themselves P1, P2, P3. How hard are they going to fight for it? You see Alejandro Sanchez not even putting himself in the slipstream of his teammate of Adicobo Lopez. I think they've been watching and seen the fact that on these cars, you can really have issues with the temperatures if you stay in the slipstream for too long. They get the clean air, get them cooled down, and they get back in line on the run up into corner number 2. Hard on the brakes, quick flick to the right, and you want to be careful not to catch too much of that curb on the right. Can use a bunch of the curb on exit though as they go up into now this left-hand kink at corner number 3, and then again into the left-hander at the cutting up the hill. And Sanchez, he's done a good job. He's brought that gap down, but will the team orders be in play here, Alvin? Will there be, is there, let's say, favoritism amongst the team? Will they let Addy come away with it, or will Sanchez and Perez duke it out and maybe be able to close the gap on that one for the race win?
I don't think they will try to fight this lead, but for Alejandro Sanchez and Mark Perez, you know, you think about it, this is the last race of the season, you know, there is really nothing to lose, so might as well try to go for it.
So down the second half of the lap, through the dipper for the final time. And now down this run into Forest Elbow. Forest Elbow is all it matters at this point. It's been 9 laps to get this job done, and you have 1 corner to set up potential race winning move. Down the back straightaway now for the final time, and Adicobo Lopez has done a fantastic job to get a monster run off that corner. Alejandro Sanchez, though, has his hands full of Mark Perez as they come down Conrad straight for the final time. The 2 machine of Perez looks to the outside as they work themselves into the chase. Adicobo Lopez is clear, but the slipstream is there. Will Perez be able to jump 2 cars in one lap? He looks to the right-hand side at the kink, slips up the inside of Lopez right there, and hard on the brakes goes the 3 teammates now down into this left-hander, the first part of the chicane, and then into the right. I think that Perez could have gotten up to the inside of the chase if he wanted to. Lopez doesn't give him the inside, though, to the final corner at Murray's Bend. Final corner, final braking zone. The 2 noses ahead, but the 1 has the preferred line side by side through the exit. Off onto the grass goes the 2, smacking the wall. That gives Lopez the win, but Perez is going to hold on to second, while his teammate Sanchez will be slipping into third by just a couple tenths of a second. What team orders, Alvin?
Well, actually, yes, you know, these drivers, you know, like I said, they are aggressive. They know how to race. Even though they are teammates, yes, sometimes they could be team orders, but like I said, this is the last race of the season, so you know what? Might as well go for it, have fun. Let's see who was the best, but you know, we have to give it to Adicobo Lopez. Pretty much him and Johnny Guindy throughout the whole race, they dominated it, but towards the end, Johnny Guindy really started faltering and running down through the order, and Adicobo Lopez, by the slimmest of margins, he was able to run away with it.
Now with that, for the final time this season, we will go down your post-race results. Adicobo Lopez goes from pole to checkers with Mark Perez from 5th up to P number 2. Mark, very patient all race, sat in that 6-car train, and then made his move at the end. Alejandro Sanchez starts and finishes 3rd, with Johnny Guindy coming away 4th. Tuan Tran rounding out your top 5. David Pina Jimenez comes home in 6th. with Jeremiah Morton 7th. Omar Soto Jr. in 8th. Guillermo Villazuena in 9th, with Christian Capega rounding out your top 10. Justin Smith finishes 11th with Greg Seitz 12th, Adam Rylance 13th, Ignacio Sanchez 14th, John Sully 15th, Justin Tipton 16th, Andrew Picario 17th, Felipe Bear 18th, Ricardo Rico 19th, and Vinicius Roca round out the 20-car field today. Thank you for joining us here tonight on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live, as coverage will continue here as we're going to kick off round number 2 of your Raven Graphics and eSpeed Contender Series in just a few moments' time, live from the Chicagoland Speedway. But for myself, Randy Chineth, from Hugo Louis, from Alvin Yevas, from everyone at iRacing and the Skip Barber Racing Schools, thank you for tuning in for the 2nd season of competition here and the 3rd season on iRacing. Be back next season as Johnny Gundy looks to be strong again, as Felipe Bear looks to be strong again, and maybe someone else can nab themselves a championship. We will see you in 2 weeks' time for this championship as we kick off round number 1 from Lime Rock. Until then, good night.